Hey there guys, and welcome back to the channel. As always, thanks so much for joining me in this video as we talk some more DC news. So, it's been over 2 years since DC Studios unveiled its bold Chapter 1 Gods and Monsters slate, promising a fresh cinematic universe of films and TV shows. Early wins like the critically acclaimed Creature Commandos and the electric buzz for this summer's Superman suggest a bright start. So why are we questioning the DCU's future? This past week, co-CEO James Gunn and Peter Safran dropped a slew of updates, and most weren't reassuring. At least 4 projects have hit pause, Batman remains absent, and the overriding sense is that they're figuring this out on the fly. Gunn and Safran talk a big game, but the cracks are showing, raising doubts whether their grand vision can hold. In this video, we weigh both sides. Is the DCU's scattered identity a daring new spin on shared world storytelling, or a red flag that the brand's already spiraling? Let's dive in. So, starting our list here at number 5, another DC slate stuck in development purgatory. Back in 2014, Warner Bros. Unveiled an ambitious DCEU movie slate that largely fizzled out. Many films never materialised, and some limped to the screens nearly a decade later. Fast forward to early 2023, and DC Studios seemed determined to repeat this cycle with its Chapter 1 Gods and Monsters lineup. The announcement felt like a calculated move, possibly driven by Warner Bros. Discovery to appease investors rather than a confident creative vision. This week's press event brought an update from James Gunn and Peter Safran, but it wasn't exactly inspiring. Projects like The Authority, Swamp Thing, Booster Gold, and Waller are stuck in limbo. They're not cancelled yet, but even factoring in the 2023 strikes, it's jarring that these films and shows are still nowhere near production 2 years later on. On the brighter side, Clayface and Sergeant Rock are getting their own movies. Small wins perhaps, but enough to keep the DC faithful holding their breath. Moving on to number 4. Where is Batman hiding? Let's be fair, DC Studios deserves some credit for not rushing the projects mentioned earlier into development. Taking time to get The Authority, Swamp Thing, and others right beats churning out flops, especially when the DC brand reputation is already on shaky ground. One more misstep could be fatal. That said, the sluggish pace on The Brave and the Bold is harder to excuse. With Matt Reeves' The Batman Part 2 moving at a glacial crawl, the DCU's Batman and Robin Tell should be top priority alongside Superman. The Dark Knight remains a box office juggernaut, his appeal didn't falter even amid the DCEU's stumbles. Scripts are in progress, but it's baffling that Batman's cape still hasn't found its next wearer. Time is ticking, DC. Number 3. A mess of mixed signals. James Gunn's been oddly coy about Robert Pattinson as the DCU's Batman, dropping teasers only for him and Peter Safran to later shut this down. Even Matt Reeves fueled the speculation by not outright denying it. Hardcore fans can juggle multiple Batmen in their heads, but casual viewers not so much. They've likely skimmed headlines about Pattinson joining the DCU and assumed it was a done deal. Clearing the air months or even years ago would have saved everyone the confusion. And don't get me started on the DCEU actor shuffle. Some return, most get recast. 2 years in, it feels like James Gunn and Peter Safran are still playing it safe. Unsure of what the DCU identity should be, they should pick a lane already. Moving on to number 2, the DCU's identity crisis. So what exactly is the DCU? Gunn and Safran deserve props for tackling stories across genres and budgets, but DC Studios feels like it's wrestling with a midlife crisis. Last week, press event only muddied the waters further. Safran pitched a cohesive shared universe in the MCU's vein, while Gunn insisted that these projects aren't pieces of a grand narrative, only to pivot and say the characters still coexist. Well, which is it? It's as if they're dodging a serialized approach, hoping to toss all the heroes into a blender later. A bold swing at a fresh shared world formula isn't a bad idea. We won't dismiss it yet, but the MCU thrives on its connected threads, and that's what fans and casuals have come to expect. Define yourself, DCU, before the audience does it for you. And finally, moving on to number 1. Where is the DCU heading? DC Studios is juggling a wild mix, sweeping sci-fi epics, gritty low-budget horror, and war tales, and that promises a tour through every corner of the DCU in the years ahead. Shining a spotlight beyond just the Justice League isn't a bad move. There's a deep bench of characters worth exploring. But when Gunn claims he's got a 6-year roadmap leading to an Avengers Endgame style payoff, it's tough to buy in. Half the announced films and shows are stalled, and new projects keep piling onto the slate. Without a clear endgame, it's hard to trust that Gunn and Saffron aren't just winging it, tossing ideas at the wall to see what lands. Press events and social media question and answers are nice, but they're not enough. Right now, DC Studios isn't selling a vision, it's struggling to prove it even has one. So with that down, that's my take on the DCU. Big ambitions, some wins, but a lot of question marks. Is it just a fresh, chaotic way to build a universe, or are Gunn and Saffron already losing the plot? We want to hear from you. Drop your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you think the DCU is on the right track, or is it headed into trouble once again? Make sure you hit the like button before you leave. Consider becoming a subscriber of the channel if you haven't done so far, as it goes a long way to supporting the content and I really appreciate that. And as always, I will see you in the next video.